Welcome to Digital Investing School, our weekly trade review for October 16th through the 20th. So let's begin. First thing we want to look at is the economic calendar of news events. So we just completed Yellen's speech today, which is Sunday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have quite a bit of news. We have the United Kingdom and the European Union with their CPI numbers being released. We also have our inflation report hearing. We have more speeches by FOMC members, building permits, initial jobless claims. For Canada on Friday, we have retail sales. And then for Florida, we have existing home sales. And then again, Fed Yellen's speech on Friday. So these are things we want to take note of going into the week. We should expect to see some volatility during these different events. So obviously, make sure you're aware of that. So first thing we want to look at is the dollar index, just to kind of gauge the momentum, see where we're at with everything. So we're looking at the monthly chart. We can see our Fibonacci levels here. We're below the 50% level, above the 38% level. And looks like we last month had put in a doji, actually 2 months in a row, you can see we dojied out. We're currently holding at support. Let's go ahead and drop down a time frame so we can get a clear view as far as what's going on with the dollar. So we saw price actually hold here at this support zone. Price is actually broken above. But if we look at what happened this past week, we can see this week actually took out the previous week's low. So we're still bearish on this pair. We did break above the 200-day moving average, but we're moving right back down below. And so if you look at what we said last week, this was the chart that we put up for last week's trade review. We saw this break out of this corrective channel here. We had seen price drop and actually clear this low, and then we were expecting price to pull back, which it did. This is our daily chart, by the way. And then we're calling for another move down, so another leg down. We're below the 50-day moving average, as you can see on the daily chart. So we're still bearish on the dollar index. So what that boils down to is we should be looking for longs on foreign currencies. So let's go ahead and get some more correlation so we can give us a confirmation of the dollar bias that we have. So looking at the dollar index, let's go to Treasury bonds. Let's see what's happened this past week with Treasury bonds. So what we can see here is price actions, the weekly chart, rejected off of resistance. We have our resistance here over the trend line. We also saw a running of the stops here at 2.395. This past week, we saw a major decline on the bonds. So that right there is a strong indication that we should see the dollar begin to continue down as our 10-year bonds continue to drop as well. So we're right now moving into our 50-day moving average on the daily, and we have our 200-day moving average as well. So we'll be watching this area for confluence to see if these levels actually hold or if we get a break below. Let's look at gold. Gold, this is our weekly chart. What we can see is that on the weekly, we have this major resistance zone that's been respected since May of 2015. So what's happened here is before that, in fact, let's go to a monthly chart. We can probably see it a little bit more clear. Here we go. So on our monthly chart, we can see that price has actually rallied out back in 2011, came all the way down, broke below. So we broke that initial level of support, came back and retested it, and it's held ever since. So this is actually since 2013. So this is a major level of resistance. But notice how we tested it here, testing it here, and testing it again. And notice the reactions are getting weaker and weaker. So from here, we saw a major drop on gold after we saw price move into the zone. Now we see price inching its way back up. And so just looking at this move, we can obviously see there wasn't a lot of a major momentum in this move up off this trend line retest, as you can see. So price came up, held here. We have like a triple bottom. And then what took place? We saw price break structure, came back, retest, and price actually held. So what we want to look at is how price came down, failed to run these lows here. So that means we're still in a bullish order flow. We're above our 50 and 200-day moving average. We have a weaker dollar or weaker bias for the dollar. And then we also look at last week's doji that got placed in. And then, 2 weeks ago, we got a doji placed in. And now we just completed last week with a major engulfing candle. So this might be a confirmation. We're going to see gold begin to rally. So we're going to be watching for this opportunity with gold to be moving up. So as the dollar begins to weaken, we should expect to see gold to continue to climb. So now let's pull up some currency pairs. First thing we want to look at is the euro pound and see what's happening with the euro pound to give us the strength and correlation of the euro as well as the pound, right? So we see on a monthly chart that we were in this major down channel and eventually it broke out, came back, retested, held support, and now we're back at resistance. So price is now double topping here at this resistance level, and this is a strong resistance level. It's a level that has not been broken since 2009. So notice the test here, fail, test, fail. Came back, tested, failed, came back, tested. Look at this last month's candle. Major bearishness in this particular pair. So that's giving us the pound bullish signal right there. So on the monthly, we can see that decline, that major drop. Last week, we saw, actually for the last 3 weeks, we saw price correct. We're still below our breaker, okay, with this particular candle right here. So this is a strong level of support turn resistance. So we see prices moved in. We see this nice pin bar got placed in. We kind of filled this candle up. So we closed that candle void. And now we're looking to see if we're going to be able to continue to move down. So my bias is we should see this pair continue to drop. Just looking at the last month and then this month. Let's go back one more time so you guys can see the size of that momentum, so we can see that clear monthly engulfing candle. So I'm expecting to see potentially price drop. If we can get below this 50-day moving average, we should see price come right around 85,919 eventually, or maybe even 86.5. So we'll be watching that area for a new level of support. Let's go back to our weekly chart. So yeah, I'd like to see if price can actually clear out this short-term low. Let me actually just draw this here. Our short-term low at 87.5. If we can see a break of this level, for sure we're going to be taking it down further. But we're going to watch and see because we have an interesting level right here of resistance, just where we had just delineated prior. So we see it held. Price did try to make an attempt but failed, and then last week we see the rejection once more. So we're going to be watching this week to see if we have a continuation to the downside. So we're going to see if we can clear out this area of accumulation and then move further down, clearing out the rest of this range. So that actually gives us a signal to be bullish on the pound. So let's go ahead and look at the different currency pairs here. Let's look at the euro dollar first. So euro dollar, here's our weekly chart. Let me go to a monthly chart so you guys can get a clear view of what's happening. So we can see that we've been trending above, or we were trending above this support level, right around 120, 121 level, this range, if you will. So we saw price come down, reject off support, same thing. And remember, you know, support is not necessarily a single line. It's not a line. It's an area of accumulated orders, right? So it's a zone, if you will, right? So this is really the entire zone that we're looking at. So we have our support zone that was eventually broken. And then eventually what occurred, and this is during the Brexit, this is right around the Brexit area, we saw this type of momentum happen. But what took place here is we see price beginning to, test resistance, came back, retest, failed, created this low. So we had a triple bottom here, and now we're breaking right above into that level again. So we're holding in this interesting zone. You can see for the last 3 months, we've just been sideways. Just in this little tight range from 121 to about 116.7. So, you know, my bet is we're going to continue to stay within this range. So we'll be looking for, we're currently in a trade right now with this particular pair. We are maintaining a bullishness because we want to see price come back and maybe retest the 121.5 level. Potentially, if something crazy happens, we might see price move all the way up to the 62% fib level, which has a confluence of our trend line resistance as well. So we're waiting and seeing what happens here, but we're for sure still bullish. Now, if you look at our daily chart, let me just kind of break this down. Our weekly chart. We see on a shorter time frame weekly that we had our up channel that just broke. Now, notice what happened here. Price broke the trend line, but price did not break this low. So because this low is still respected and intact, this means we're still bullish, right? And so this is our weekly range, if you will. So this is our low of last week's, 2 weeks ago. This is the high. Notice how price failed to break the low again, but price broke the high. So this still shows us bullish bias with the euro dollar. So let's go to a daily chart and kind of analyze what's happening. So we saw price breakout. So this is actually our resistance level right here. As you can see, price is holding. So I'll delineate that so everyone can see. So we had like a little head and shoulders like pattern. Price broke down. And now it looks like we're forming another head and shoulders pattern where we might be able to break up. So we have this daily trend line we're watching for. If we can break this trend line, then price is going to for sure continue to go up. And we should see potentially a retest of 121.5. So we're going to be looking for long opportunities. And again, overall directional bias is long on the euro dollar. We correlate that with a weaker dollar and a stronger foreign currency. So we have all these things working together, not to mention we're above our 200-day moving average. We came up, we came back and retested, and we're holding. So this is all looking really, really good for the euro dollar for a bullish position. Let's go to the pound dollar. Okay, so here's our monthly chart. We can see this major support zone became resistance. When we saw the happening of Brexit, it took Brexit to break this, like, I don't know how long, this 1993 support level, right? So crazy how long the support level's been attacked. It finally broke during Brexit. So we know this is a powerful level, right? The 139 level, again, it's a range, more so of a range than anything. So 135 to 139, it's a 400 pip range. Just looking at that overall zone there. So let's go to our weekly chart and analyze what's happening. So first of all, before I do that, see our trend line, look at where it's at. Look at the type of price action that we have intact here. Now let's go to our weekly chart and begin to just analyze what's happening. So we saw price about a month ago move into this level of 136. So we closed this gap right here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and correct this right there. There we go. And I'm going to bring that down further. And that's our level. So we saw price close this gap on 136, and that was September 18th. And we saw a major pullback, right? So notice how price pulled back. Where did price stop? Price stopped right here at this order block, this bullish order block. So this is where the buyers came in. This is where the orders were placed to create this order flow or price action out of this range. So this is a powerful area of liquidity. Now notice how price came back to retest that area. Last week we see an inside candle. So this right here is kind of giving us indecision, if you will. We can see the momentum's to the downside. And then the last week we finished with an inside candle. So we're kind of waiting to see what's going to take place. But let me explain why I decided to get into this trade. So we saw price drop. We also know what's going on fundamentally, where there's a talk about holding off Brexit and all these different things. And so that's creating a bullishness for the pound, actually. So, we can see price came down, came and held this support right over here at this level. We're now seeing price move back out. So we're going to wait and see. But I'm long on this pair overall because, again, if we correlate what's going on fundamentally, we correlate what's going on with the dollar, and then we also correlate what's happening with the euro pound, it gives us the signal that there's still a bullishness within the pound dollar. So we're taking this long. Now it's possible we could see this drop down and actually retest this trend line before we actually get our major move up, right? That's a possibility. So we took a long entry. I believe it was like right around 132-ish. So we're still in this trade. And our stops are right below 129. So we're just, it's a short-term expectation to see, by this week, we're going to know what direction we're going in. Our stops are going to be around 138. We're looking for 138, which is going to take us right around a 550 pip take profit. So this is a swing trade we're going to be holding for the next couple of weeks. But this is what we're looking at. We saw price hold from this breaker. We're expecting to see, in fact, price cleared out this liquidity level right here. We see the stops got run. We're now going to see maybe potentially if price can continue to go up from here. So we're bullish pound dollar. Let's go look at the dollar Canadian and see what's happening with that. So looking at the dollar CAD, first thing we want to look at is oil. So we have oil here. We see oil's at our strong resistance level of $54 a barrel. We also have this resistance of a trend line here. We saw price move into it and reject last 2 weeks ago. Now we saw this week already has already closed this candle. So all the losses have already been made up. We've actually failed to run the high, right? We failed to run the high of last week. So we're still holding in this level, but let's continue to go break it down for a little bit here. So we can see on a daily chart the type of price action. So let's analyze it really quickly before we look at the the dollar CAD. So we can see prices holding above support. We're now moving into this level. I'm expecting price to come back and maybe retest this high, put in a double top. We can kind of see where we go from there. So yeah, we're still bullish on oil. And now let's look at the dollar CAD. So we know the dollar's weak. We know oil's strong. So let's look and see what we have happening here. So looking at our weekly chart, we can see prices has been in this little consolidation now for a couple of weeks. We saw this level finally break at 125.4. We saw price clear, came back, so dropped down, cleared these lows, pulled up, so we reacted, right? Reacted at that level, but a weak reaction, right? And we saw price move out and clear out all this liquidity below here. Now we see price moving up, back to retesting this area of liquidity and holding. So we've been holding since for the last 2 weeks. So we want to see, is this, when is this pair, where do we go from here? I mean, we're overall bearish on the dollar CAD. Now, if we look at this trend line break, this would give us a clue that potentially this could mean it's time for the pair to fall. So we're going to wait and see what happens. Let's see if we can identify some more confluence here. But overall, we're just looking at this pair. We're bearish this pair. We're just waiting for the right time to enter our shorts with this particular pair. So we have our range here. We have our new range below. Price has moved up. So there's potential this could actually move back up to 127.7 and retest this high again before we see price actually drop from here. And it's also possible, now that we've actually cleared this, we broke this trend line, we've cleared this low, now we're going to move down from here. So those are the two scenarios. We can actually drop from here, or we can come back and retest the 127.75. Also notice that on Thursday, Wednesday we had a major bearish candle, then we had a doji, and then Friday doji. So we would want to wait and see the price to be able to move out of this particular range that we're in, this level right here. Once we can kind of get a clear understanding of what's going on based on the reaction here, that'll give us a confirmation in where we're going to be entering our trades. But we are looking for shorts overall. Okay, let's go to the Japanese pairs now really quick as we begin to wrap this up. So we're currently short the dollar yen, and let me explain what happened here. So we see price has been in this overall corrective structure. We saw price move up into this zone of resistance, and price actually started rejecting, not aggressively, and so that's why I'm not really that fired up about this particular trade. But we see price moved into our order block right here. Okay, this candle right here. So we see price moved in, and then we saw price basically hold below, so rejected, could not break above this resistance level 113-ish. So what that basically gave me was a confirmation that we want to maybe take a short position. So we took a short. We're up roughly like 40, 50 pips. We're targeting this area here around 110, 111-ish, which would be our next area of support. So we're going to see if price can actually clear these lows, see how price responds to the 50-day moving average. But we overall decided to take a sell here. We might see price move back down and eventually maybe come all the way back up and clear out these highs right around 114. I've been calling for 118, right? So we're gonna wait whether it's gonna happen now or later. That's just my bias overall, just looking at this price action here. But yeah, short term, short on the dollar yen. Now, pound yen. Notice what happened here. We have a bullish flag formation. We saw price move into support turn resistance at 152, and we had a major rejection. So similar to the euro pound, we see the same behavior, right? For that weekly candle, major bearishness. So we're still going to be looking for this pair to potentially drop again this week. So we see prices move down, found support. We see nice correction up, so we might have one more leg down, so we'll be looking at 142. One thing I want to look at that I normally don't do is look at some of the cryptocurrencies, because there's a lot of momentum and volatility right now, with Bitcoin, for instance, hitting its all-time high at 5,000 Let's see what it hit, $5,867 for the coin. That's unbelievable. So I know a lot of people right now are like, oh my goodness, it's crazy. You know, we're making all this money and blah, 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 blah. Now it's time to get in. And, you know, the reality is price is price, right? Whether it's a cryptocurrency or whether it's a foreign currency, it's price action is price action. And the reason why is because what moves price are the people, right? People is who are the ones who are buying, who are selling, institutions, hedge funds, traders, whatever. So because we know people are responsible for the market, we can expect that there will be predictive price movements. And so price moves basically the same, right? Whether it's gold or a commodity or a currency, it's the same basic stuff. So we can apply the principles to cryptocurrency. So looking at this daily chart, we can see that price actually exploded above resistance, which was at 49.65. So we saw price break that level. Look at that momentum ran all the way out. So it's at all-time high. So where's it going to go from here? It's going to potentially come back and retest the 49.65 level. So we'll be looking for that. And based on that, you know, if we see price actually, let me go ahead and throw on a moving average here to give us a little bit more confluence, right? Remember, we don't trade because of the moving average. We trade with the moving average as an added directional bias, right? It gives us just an added confluence in our setup. So yeah, clearly we're seeing the momentum. We're seeing prices moved all the way up. We're expecting price to eventually pull back and retest this support level here, which also gives us we can see a nice little order block right in here. So we'll be watching that area for a potential pullback on Bitcoin. Whether it happens this week or next week, it's going to eventually happen because price must pull back. And here's the other piece, right? So if price pulls back, we're going to be looking for an opportunity to potentially buy as long as this level holds. And then we can see our next level of extension, which could be right around 66. In fact, let's do this. Let's go ahead and look for our extensions here. Yeah, so we'll be looking for $6,324 for Bitcoin based on if price does pull back. Let me actually fix this. So if we see price pull back here, we're going to be looking for opportunity at 61.90 for our next level or our next high. Now, at the same time, it's possible price can break this level, break below this level, and then we're going to find a short-term correction and maybe a retest of this trend line. So that's another possibility. So we'll be watching also the 62% of the fib, which is $4,200 for Bitcoin. Now we have our one touch, two touch. We're really looking for our third touch. And whenever we see price make that third touch, one of two things happen. It's either going to break the trend line or it's going to explode up from here. Let's look at Ethereum. So we can see it's in this massive squeeze right now. We're in this consolidation. Looks like a symmetrical triangle. So we see this type of compression take place before a breakout usually occurs. So let's analyze what's happening here really quickly. We're going to wrap this up. So we can see that, let's actually, give me 1 second here. So we can see that price has been obviously respecting this trend line. We have price creating lower highs here, higher lows here. So that's just a sign of compression. More than likely, we're going to close this range. So I'm going to be looking for price to come up into this level here. And, I think eventually we're going to probably break this high. So that's what we're looking at overall. So we're going to be bullish Ethereum. We just want to make sure that the timing is right. So let's look at what took place here. Let me just analyze this really quickly for everybody. So we have our level right here that we're in, our resistance level, our liquidity block. So we see prices moved in, and then 2 weeks ago we put in a doji, and then last week we have another bearish candle, but clearly nothing that would indicate a continuation down. Sorry, this is a daily chart. Let me go to weekly chart. Yeah, so weekly chart, we can see prices inching its way up. We have our weekly block right here. So we see price attempted to move into that level, and it's rejected. So that's interesting. Now looking at our daily, we can see that on Friday, we didn't really get a major bearish signal as of yet. Price is still holding above this level here. So here's where our support level would be. So we have our support, turn resistance, turn support again. So obviously we see price broke it. Now it's pulling back to test it. So we're going to probably wait Monday, Tuesday to see the price action here. If this level holds, then we should see price continue to go up. So that's going to be our bet on Ethereum. Plus, again, if we're looking at the dollar being weaker, then that should also give us an indication that we should see this particular crypto be able to move up even further. So we're looking to close this range right around here. Let me actually draw that out for you guys. There we go. So we're looking to see if price can move into this level and close. So guys, with that, make sure, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Go like our business page. We actually have a new video we're going to be sending out later on this week on one of our favorite patterns called the BRC pattern. In fact, this is what's helped a lot of our students start making tons of profit. Even as new traders, because we've created it's not that we created, we identified a very high probability, simple setup that anybody can trade regardless of their skill level. So we'll be sending that out this week. Make sure you check your email because you don't want to miss out on that. Very, very good stuff. And if you're new, this is your first time watching one of our videos, just make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. You can get to our newsletter through Digital Effects School, which is our Forex division, .com. So digitaleffectsschool.com, you can get that information, subscribe, and that way you can get up to date with everything that's happening. And as well as if you've already subscribed for your signals, you should be getting signals this week. We have a couple things that we're looking at. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so. Again, and if you need to get in contact with us, just email us at support@digitalinvestingschool.com. Have a great week, guys. Let's kill it in the markets, and we'll see each other next week.